Thank you for joining me. I'm Amy Tokuhama. I'm the president of the Natomas Garden and Arts Club, and this is my presentation on how to make blown eggs as an alternative for the holidays to material gifts or store-bought gifts. But this is how to make decoupage blown eggs. So blown eggs, decoupage blown eggs, or blown eggs in general have been around for millennia. I myself got my inspiration for making blown eggs from Fabergé eggs. The Russian royal family had made by the French artist Fabergé, and I even made decoupage eggs for favors for my wedding. So they make good gifts. I've given them for gifts for years and years. Here are some of the examples of some of the ones I've made. I've made spirals. I've made flames and stars. I have little openings here for making a vignette or a picture holder. And I have also ones that I've made into cages. And I even have one that's covered with an onion skin. I'll show you that one later on. So here's what you'll need to begin. You'll need an egg, of course. You'll need a toothpick or another sharp tool to pierce your egg, and then you'll need a bowl and somehow a way to clean your egg. I usually do this in the kitchen. I'm doing it in the arts and crafts room today, so we'll see how that goes. I use Mod Podge, matte or glossy. You'll need a brush for water to apply it. You'll need paper of various kinds to put on, and then you'll need a ribbon to hang it if you want to make a hanger style. So let's see. If you have questions about the process, you can go to our website, or you can email directly to me at atokuhama@natomasgac.org. I will put this screen up again at the end, but I wanted to, oops, sorry about that. Let's try that again. I want to show you now how to actually do what the pictures. So I have my egg, and what we're going to do is we're going to put a hole in the top and the bottom of the egg. So I like to use this. It's an awl. You can also use, this is a file. You could use a sewing needle, especially an embroidery needle works well. So what I do is I nestle the egg in my hand like this to give it as much structural support. And then very gently just kind of press until it makes its way through. The awl is nice because it's graduated, so it gets bigger as you go. So you can just go back and forth. The file is also nice because it kind of breaks it open. So you want this. Now, one thing that I have found over the years as I've done it more and more is that we are going to decoupage these. So you really don't have to be as careful as you would think. And the hole can be a little bit larger than you think. So now I've done one end, turned it over, and I'm going to do the other end. Now, this is where the hole that I'm making in here, if you're going to put a hanger in it, this is where the hanger is going to go. So you want to make sure that it's like at the top. Like, for instance, mine is right here. So this isn't going to hang nicely, but this end here will hang nicely. So we can hang it from that end. So I've got a hole. Can you see how big that is? It's about, an 1/8 of an inch on both sides, a hole about the same size. Now, step 2, you need a toothpick. and you're going to stick the toothpick inside the egg, and you're going to scramble the yolk. Now, this is something I learned the hard way, but if you don't scramble the yolk and break up the albumin, then it's much more difficult to blow out. So, okay, so then you got that in there, and then just hopefully this will. I put my lips around a wider area rather than a more narrow area, because I'm just trying to reduce pressure, or make the pressure equal on the whole egg so that it's less likely to explode. Okay, here we go. That was kind of gross, but you get the idea of how it works, and it's basically all out of there now. Sometimes you have to work it out with the toothpick, but and this part I usually do under the sink, but I'm just going to do it with my spray bottle here. But I'm going to try to get into the egg with water, and you can use soap and water. This is just plain water, but you want to shake it. What you're doing is rinsing and cleaning the inside of the egg. Blow it out, fill it up, and do that once or twice. Okay, and then there you go. So then at this point, I would usually wait a couple of days, or put this in a very low oven, like 150 degrees, to dry out the interior, because what we're going to do next is cover it over. And you don't want to seal moisture inside, because it'll get funky. All right, so the next step is the paper that we're going to use to decorate this with. Now, I'm going to show you on the fancier varieties. Like this is one that I started for Halloween. I don't know if you can get an image on that, but there's a bit of cut work going on in there. And if you look at, this is one of those vignettes that I was talking about, or a place where you can put a picture frame. But essentially, the tactic that I use when I do those is that I decoupage everywhere that I'm not going to cut. And I leave the spots that I want negative space that I'm going to cut out. I leave those without the Mod Podge on them, and they're just much easier to cut. Okay, so this here is one with a ribbon attached to it. All I did was take a piece of thin ribbon, insert it in with the toothpick or the awl, and then took some paper and just sealed it in with the Mod Podge. So that's all set to go. Now, this napkin that I chose for my decoration, I thought it was nice. You can use wrapping paper, and magazines are a little bit thicker. And so you just have to work them onto the curvature of the egg. It's a little bit more difficult, but I like tissue paper or napkins because it's just easier. But for sure, when you're using a napkin, you want to take the inside ply off so that you have this. And then you have your pieces that you want to use. Now, like I said, we're taking a flat thing and trying to put it around a round surface. So I find it's much easier to use a piece that's going to be about a ½ an inch square or less. And then just raggedy ass pieces are fine. And this, let's see, I don't know if I can show you. I've already gotten myself a small pile of tissue here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my brush, moisten it, and get the Mod Podge on it. And this I usually pour it into the lid just to make it easier to get to. You don't need a lot. So I get the surface tacky with a layer of Mod Podge. I use my paintbrush to pick up a piece, and then I lay it onto the egg. I'm trying to make this clear. and brush it down and try to flatten the piece down. And I find that I usually end up using the back as like I don't know what you call that, to just smash it down and overlap the pieces slightly because you don't want gaps. Like I said, you don't need an enormous amount of pastes of Mod Podge. And I usually moisten a fairly large space at a time so I could put on a couple of pieces. Try not to use my fingers because once your fingers get sticky, game over. Game over. Okay, so I'm hoping you can follow what I'm doing. And as you see, I'm not going by any particular pattern. I'm using a pretty random, especially right now. I'm trying just to go quickly. So I'm just picking up the pieces as they fall into my hand, maybe adjusting where I'm going to put them. Now, the difference between a napkin and, say, a magazine picture or a wrapping paper is that I can put a napkin onto a surface that is wet with the Mod Podge, and the Mod Podge will seep through it enough to adhere it and give it a good top and bottom. But if you do it with a magazine, you're going to have to really work it, moisten it. Sometimes I put magazine pictures in the water first just to get them wet. Okay, so and so. And it dries pretty quickly, so you can, if your hand gets cramped, I actually have this hard-boiled egg holder so I can put it down if my hand gets cramped. But just keep turning it, applying, turning it, applying. And you see, when I get a couple layers on there, I do like to make sure that it's laying down nice and smooth. Like that. See the idea? And this would take you probably, I would say at this rate, you could be done with this in an hour. You could do a dozen in an afternoon, one for all your relatives. If you want to get fancier, it does take a little longer because what I do when I do the ones with the cuts and the openings in them is I put the Mod Podge on, and then you have to wait for it to dry. And then you put another layer on, and then you wait for that to dry, etc., etc. So layering and waiting for the product to dry does take a bit of time, but like I said, it dries pretty quickly because you can see what I've done here. And this part over here is still tacky, but it's cool out today. It's about 70 degrees. And I'll just continue around that. If I get tired, I can just set it aside. I've actually got some that I've been doing for years that are set aside. I did want to show you one last thing before I go and before I put up the information. But these are my minions. I have lots of things that can be used to be put inside of the, you can put them inside of, like that's a chickie, and it can go inside of the mouth like that. I've got an odd sense of humor, but there's a little ninja. I have a little football player there. I have a little mushroom, and I can't even tell you where I find these things. This one is actually a real rose from my garden that I dried and decoupage, which is a whole nother show. There was a time in my life when my family said if you stood still long enough, I would throw a coat of decoupage on you too. So this guy is like a little superhero, and you can put him in there like that. I have this right here. Like I said, my relatives got this as the pictures of my kids inside there. I don't know if you can see them. And this is the one that I did for my wedding reception. You can see I was not going to pass up an opportunity to decoupage an egg. I actually did make one that opened up like a box, hinged at the back. Plenty of ideas. Let me go back and share the screen again. and let you take down some information if you want to know more. Email me directly, atokuhama@natomasgac.org, or check out our website. natomasgac.org is the website. It's great. We try to update it. We've also got a Facebook page and Instagram and a Twitter account. So check those out. We're going to be having more videos and lessons on our YouTube channel. So stay posted for more. Nice to see you guys all. See you later.